Hey, what's going on, guys? Biz here once again. To call this a build diary would be a little bit disingenuous, because it is literally a build diary, but it's not the build diary you guys typically see on the channel. It's more of a build showcase with like a kind of explanation of what I want to do with the build, because I typically try to structure my build diaries in kind of a way where I explain everything and show you guys like step-by-step progress from like early maps to end game and bossing until I finally put the build down. This character's build diary is starting halfway through level 97. Hold on, capturing desktop. There we go. Starting halfway through level 97. I've got a Mageblood and a bunch of really nice gear already crafted, so probably not very easy to follow along for this one, but since I intend on taking this character to level 100, and this is my attempt at killing the new Uber bosses, because I thought it would be a cool challenge, I want to showcase it in this manner. So this build diary series will be a little bit different, and like I said, I'll do like a map showcase in a second, but I kind of want to preface here like my idea. So I got a Mageblood, obviously. It's been super cool. It's been super fun. However, this is likely like the only time I'm gonna get a Mageblood. Like, you know, like I don't want to count on just having this consistently. So there's kind of like a compromise I've come to in my mind, because like I don't think it's like super good for content to just throw the Mageblood on every build I play. So what I'm gonna do instead is I'm gonna go and I'm gonna try to do Ubers on this build once I hit 100. And try to get like my gear min-max. There's a bunch of stuff I need to go over with the gear on like what I want to do there, but that's kind of like the compromise there. Like if this character makes it out of Ubers alive with the Mageblood, then I'll use Mageblood on other characters, and then if he dies, which is what I'm expecting, especially on Sirius, then the Mageblood is gone, and then I don't have to worry about it anymore. So that's kind of where I'm at. That's what the goal is here, and I think killing the Ubers on RF Fire Trap is going to be probably pretty difficult for most, well, not most of them. I mean, like stuff like Cortex and stuff like that I think will be easy, but Sirius especially, because you know that fight's a DPS check. There's all the degen stuff like that. I'm probably gonna have to just turn RF off for that, but anyway, we'll see. But that's the goal. It should be like an interesting little challenge, and then it solves the Mageblood issue. So I'm gonna run this map without Inc AoE, and I'll talk a little bit about where the build's at, what I've done with it. I've done all content on the build, with the hardest content, I guess, being Maven Witnessed Uber Elder. I guess I've not done the Feared or the Hidden yet. Everything else has been done. Like obviously, I've been farming Maven for a few days now, like farming her for days on end, and because I want to get woke gems, because woke gems are really good for this build. You can get plus levels, basically like woke burning damage is +1 to fires, woke Ellie focus is +1 to elemental gems. Obviously woke Inc AoE is like massive on RF, because then you don't have to choose between efficacy and increased AoE. You get both on the same gem, basically. So there's a lot of cool stuff you can do there with woke gems. So I've really been trying to farm it up off Maven, but I haven't gotten anything super good yet. Like I guess like some notable ones, I got like Awakened Castle Channeling support, and I got Awakened Deadly Ailments. So like I'm sure I can use those in some build somewhere. But yeah, they're not relevant to this build whatsoever, right? So overall, as you can see, super smooth, and basically all this gameplay you're seeing here isn't really enabled by the Mageblood. The Mageblood in this build is basically, it's all defense. It's defense and quality of life. I played this build to about 93 or whatever before I even got the Mageblood, and it's completely fine. The biggest thing of like what's being enabled here for like the playstyle is actually the boots from Maven, Legacy of Fury, which is why I was originally playing this guy to begin with. I didn't make this guy with the intention of getting a Mageblood. I made this guy because I wanted to play around with Legacy of Fury boots, because I was, you know, in case they get nerfed next league or something. I've always loved RF, but I've never put a ton of time into RF because I don't think it's like a very good, like most of the people who frequent my stream don't really like it. They think it's the resident sleeper. You know, RF can be a pretty like divisive skill. And I know I'm like casually walking through this map. I'm not clearing it very seriously, but you can basically just shield charge through everything and it all dies. I also cleared the map wrong, but oh well. But it tends to be pretty divisive. People who like RF typically like it a lot, and then there's people who think it's like the most boring thing in existence. So, you know, depends on what side of the fence you fall on. But most of my viewers, I think, genuinely really don't like RF. So I try not to play stuff that people, you know, especially the people who are supporting me, don't like to do. But this time I was like, I want to play this because if it gets changed, I'm gonna be sad that I didn't play it while it was still a thing. Because Ayla RF, for any of you old heads or around know, that old build, the Ayla RF Occultist, it was like an old racing build, and I wasn't really good enough at the game back then to like really utilize it, but I loved playing it. It was very fun, very satisfying build to play in my opinion. And this Legacy of Fury RF feels very much like that, except this build can, you know, it can also boss. It's like super tanky. You have like better damage, all sorts of good stuff, right? All sorts of really nice upsides. So I've been having a blast with it. It's really fun. But like I was saying, nothing's really been enabled from the Mageblood. It's just more defensive stuff. You would be able to do all content that I've done right now without the Mageblood, and it's actually funny. I have a lot of good gear on, but I'm using a Rise of the Phoenix because ROG is not giving me a good shield. I've even tried harvest crafting shields, and I'm just not getting my max res. I am kind of betting on this point having an Aegis by level 100. So I want to eventually transition the build into a melding setup, which I think is basically mandatory to do the Ubers on. And at least in hardcore, right? So I want to transition into a melding setup, and in order to do that, the best way for me to do that, and what's going to give me a massive survivability boost, is getting an Aegis. So I've been doing everything I can to try to get an Aegis. Like I've spec'd for the unique thing from map bosses, trying to get Sentinels with unique rewards, taking altars that give unique rewards, juicing rarity. I even have rarity on some of my items, like you know, just everything you can try to do. Harvest, unique rerolls, just everything that you can try to do to increase your chances. Expedition, obviously, gambling through that. Just everything I can to just, it's not something that's target farmable, obviously. So when you're trying to get a unique that's not truly target farmable in SSF, you just have to do everything you can to stack your odds to try to increase your chances as much as possible to drop it, right? So hopefully by level 100 I get it. Like I said, I'm just a little bit under halfway through 97, so we still have plenty of time to go before I hit 100, and hopefully I have an Aegis by then. Now, moving on, I'm going to go over some stuff on the passive tree real quick. So I'm running a Glorious Vanity setup, as you do. When I get an Aegis, I'll probably drop the Glorious Vanity setup. It'll save me points, and I'll be able to put stuff elsewhere. I'm currently running one large cluster and one medium cluster. With an Aegis, I would be taking points out of Flesh of the Flames, which is 30% increased fire damage and explosive impact. I'd be taking the points out of here, and I would move my cluster setup off the armor nodes here, and the cluster setup would go where the Glorious Vanity would be. And then the extra passive points I would save from this would be going down for Glancing Blows, right? And then the extra points would go into another medium cluster that I want to roll. For anybody curious, it's a large 8 passive fire damage cluster jewel, rolled with Cremator, Disorienting Display, and Smoking Remains, which is LE damage with blind on nearby enemies, fire damage, the ignite doesn't matter, and more fire damage with Smoke Cloud on kill, which is, you know, like more evasion basically. These don't really matter. Basically, you just get the cluster jewel and you roll it for a bunch. You want a 3 affix fire damage jewel. That's really all that matters. Now the medium cluster, I'm running a 5 passive. Now, those of you who don't know, there's not really a difference between a 4 passive and a 5 passive medium cluster, because as you can see, the extra passive just goes here, and then you can grab the jewel socket on the other side. So it's still only 4 points that I'm investing. So it doesn't really matter that it's 5 instead of 4 passive. So I'm running Burning Bright and Wrapped in Flame, and it took me a little bit to roll this, but it wasn't too bad. Basically, Wrapped in Flame is fire damage with chill immunity and cover and ash on hit while you're burning. Now, those of you who don't know, things like exposure on hit and cover and ash on hit, that does apply to traps, just like curse on hit rings apply to traps and stuff like that. So this does function with traps. Burning Bright is just, you know, it's Burning Bright. It's bit of AoE. It's basically like 1 radius and some damage. So that's what I'm running on the cluster jewels. Divine Shield, you know, like a lot of this tree is kind of whatever. I'll put the POB down below for people who really want to tear this up. I don't want to go into like super depth since, like I said, it's more of a showcase, kind of more angled at like more advanced players. If you guys have any questions on the build, you're trying to run it yourself, let me know. I'll answer it to the best of my ability. But most of the RF tree has been very solved for a long time now, with like minor iterations coming in every once in a while. But for the most part, you just pick up all the life, you pick up max res, you know, the armor masteries for determination, reservation, and I personally really like the reduced damage from crit strikes mastery. I take it on every build I can that grabs 2 armor wheels. You grab, you know, AoE, fire damage nodes. It's just like very generic tree. The only thing that's like, you know, specific to RF is that you take hardy, you want all the regen here. Masteries is the regen while moving and stuff like that. So that's the tree. If you guys have any questions, let me know. But the, you know, the passive tree is like very straightforward. The POB will be down below. So for gear is interesting. So a lot of this isn't done, but it's in a state where personally I consider it good enough in a lot of slots, but there's still hopefully going to be many changes before the character's finished. So start with the helmet. I got Lab Enchant, RF increased AoE. I rolled an Elder Helmet until I got burning damage and Conk Effect, which also rolls with percent increased, you know, burning damage, percent increased AoE. I rolled this with Loathings for increased mana reservation efficiency, because as you can see, I have 16 spare mana, which allows me to run Defiance, Banner, Determination, Purity of Fire, Malevolence, and Tempest Shield. So this is basically the workaround for not having an Ashes. Now, I do have an Ashes. I do have an Ashes of the Stars, but I don't want to run it because my current amulet gives me more damage than the Ashes does by quite a wide margin. And I also want the Dex from a Jade Amulet. So, Loathing Craft. Now, after that, I meta-modded it. Basically, I hit these, annulled it down until I had the open slots that I wanted. Multi-mod life and +1 to socketed AoE gems with increased AoE. Why +1 to AoE gems? Simply because it gives +1 to Fire Trap, so you get extra gem level on Fire Trap. So I'm running a 21-0 Fire Trap, which is, with everything combined right now, level 24. All of my hits on both the RF and the Fire Trap at this point have failed for a 21-20 attempt. They are level 21, but they don't have quality, so it's like a minor damage increase, but it is something that I am still working on. Shield, typical Rise of the Phoenix, absolute gutter tier shield for RF. Basically, this is what I'm going to be using until Raw gives me a good enough shield or I get the Aegis, either one. I would strongly prefer an Aegis, but if I'm 100 and still don't have the Aegis, I will at least hopefully have a Rog shield by then, and then I'll just bite the bullet and try to do the boss without Aegis. But Aegis would be huge in terms of increasing the character's survivability on Ubers. On the chest piece, we have a very, very basic chest piece here. So I actually picked this up off the ground. I think this was a Sentinel armor reward, and it dropped magic. It dropped with 100 life, it dropped with the mana and the spell suppression. I picked it up and I regaled it, and then it rolled 100 life on the regal, and I was like, okay. So I was using this. The implicits I'm running are increased life recovery rate and 1% all max res. One thing I've kind of been playing with the idea with is dropping the life recovery rate and then stacking, basically either going for frenzy charges or endurance charges. Frenzy charges would be a pretty significant damage boost for the build, whereas endurance charges would give me a lot of fizz damage reduction. And it would also help with Ele res. It would help a lot with elemental resistance when running the melding setup. However, this is kind of probably be contingent on if I get an Aegis or not. If I have an Aegis, I probably won't need the fizz damage reduction because I'm going to have like 80+ K armor and Fizz isn't going to do a whole lot to me. It's not going to be very much of a threat. And that will let me run the frenzies. If I don't get an Aegis, I will probably very much need the Fizz damage reduction that endurance charges will give me. So that's probably, like, that's my current thinking. This may change, but this is my current mindset on it. And then I want the max res there for obvious reasons. And moving on, Legacy of Fury, obviously crazy boots for this build. This roll is kind of bad. My RNG for rolling divines on this has been pretty poor. I've got two or three pairs of these now. So I am rolling other backup ones. But basically the armor evasion roll is, you know, bottom of the barrel. The chance on kill is okay. It's 37. It's a 10% range. For those who don't know, increase effective Scorch doesn't actually matter. It's basically 30%, 40%, and 50%. It's basically, you have 3 different tiers on that. Like going from 42% to 47% increase effective Scorch is not going to give you any extra damage. It's not going to do literally anything unless you have other sources of increased effective Scorch, if that makes sense. So that roll doesn't really matter because basically you just want to get something higher than 40%, and that's all that matters, because the only way to get a damage increase past that is rolling a perfect 50. Which your chances of getting a perfect 50 while also getting a high chance on kill and a high armor evasion roll is quite low, but if you get it, cool, but it's not something that I really, you know, feel super strongly about trying to get. Moving on from there, you know, I don't really need to say anything about this one. Moving on, these gloves are really good for me. I really need the dex. It's a tier 1 life and a chaos res roll, which I need a lot. And then a open prefix to craft in +1 to socketed AoE gems with ink AoE again. The AoE is nice for RF and fire trap for clear, but it's also +1 to all of my auras, and all of my 21 attempts failed. So what we have right now though is a level 23 Purity of Fire, a level 21 Malevolence, a level 21 Defiance Banner, and a level 21 Determination. Worth noting that Purity of Fire will be swapped out for Purity of Ice when and if I get my Aegis, or when I finally craft my Rog Shield. But that will be getting swapped out at one point because of the way that Exarch interacts with max res. So like Exarch can debuff you and reduce your max fire res, which would nuke your other resistances if you were to run a fire melding setup. So we'll go with cold melding. Should make it easier. Moving on from there, we have a scepter. This is a super whatever scepter. So I tried like over 10 recombinators and I couldn't hit a +2. My +1 to all gem scepter finally bit the dust and died on one of my last recombinator attempts, and I didn't have any other +1 scepters, +1 to all scepters. And I was low on alterations, so I didn't have like a spare 2,000 alterations to hit it again. So I just bit the bullet, was like, whatever, I'm gonna get the upgrade anyway. Because the scepter I was using at the time was like fire damage, fire dot multi, burning damage, or whatever. And swapping to this scepter with +1 to all fires, and then just multi-modding on fire damage and fire dot multi was like a 18% damage increase for the build. So it's like, whatever, it's good enough for now. Definitely want to get a +2 scepter with basically all the same stuff, if you're curious. So like, the end game scepter that I want is just literally this, but with +1 to all on it. That, you know, that'll increase the level of the auras, it'll increase the level of fire trap and RF and everything else, you know. And it is a very noticeable damage increase too, so it's worth it. But basically I just want to, one of those prefixes of lightning damage is going to be replaced with +1 to all, and everything else is the exact same. And moving on from there, we'll go over the amulet. So I rolled an amulet with +1. This was a recombinator. So percent increase max energy shield. Shitty res roll, but that's whatever. It's just a really high damage amulet. +1 to level of all fire skill gems. 25% increased fire damage. I could get a higher roll on that dot multi, but for now 13% dot multi. It could be 15%. So a lot of damage on the amulet. It's more damage than Ashes by pretty wide margins, like 8% overall damage. And then I just crafted on life, and then anointed charisma because I need the mana reservation. It also gives increased effective auras, which is cool. So that's my anoint. And then the rings, lastly, basically life, energy shield. I got rarity on there, which is cool, I guess, for Aegis farm. Lightning and chaos. So I really needed, basically when I was rolling this, I was like, I need lightning res bad. So I hit it with chaos harvest crafts until I basically got a tier 1 life roll, a high chaos roll, and a tier 1 or tier 2 lightning res roll. Unfortunately, my my ideal scenario here is that both of my rings have basically what you're looking at right now, except they have an open suffix. Sorry, rip rarity. And instead of crafting on increased damage, I craft on minimum endurance charges. That would let me get 2 endurance charges while also being able to run the frenzy charge setup on the chest piece, and then I would have the damage and most of the Ellie res and fizz damage reduction from 2 endurance charges. That's my ideal, so I'm still working. Like, I basically want the exact same ring, but without with an open suffix. The other ring, same thing kind of going on here. It's just a lot of res. Unfortunately, no tier 1 life on this ring, but it is what it is. And again, same thing. I just wish it was the exact same stuff, except an open suffix, so I could craft on endurance chargers. That's basically it. So hopefully that will be taken care of by the time I'm 100. And that's pretty much it for the gear. If you guys have any questions, let me know. So, gyms real quick. I just have, it's like super generic setup. I'm using my fire trap in the Elder helmet. So fire trap with control destruction, trap and mind damage, and life tap. My RF setup is RF linked with Ellie focus, burning damage, efficacy, swift affliction, and life tap. So swift affliction has the duration tag, and the only way to get the duration tag is to either link RF with arcane surge or life tap, because it will give RF the duration tag. So if you drop life tap, you also can't use swift affliction. So if you don't have a 6 link and you're running on a 5 link, it would be better to throw the RF in like your Elder helmet and use your fire trap on the 5 link instead. In the shield, I just have Flame Dash linked with life tap, and then Tempest Shield is on its lonesome. In the boots, I have Flammability, Shield Charge, faster attacks, all linked with life tap. In the gloves, I have Purity of Fire linked with Malevolent. Well, the links don't matter, but Purity of Fire, Malevolence, Defiance, Banner, and Determination, all the auras that I want +1. And in the scepter, it's just my cast and damage taken setup linked with life tap because, yeah, no mana. And that's pretty much everything there. If you're wondering about the playstyle, I will say real quickly that I was, until I got my Legacy of Fury boots, I was pathed down here through Call to Arms for instant Infernal Cry, and I was running Infernal Cry on the build instead. And I just made sure I had enough, instead of increased damage, I had Elrion crafts on the ring, on both rings, to be able to reduce my mana cost enough so I could use Flame Dash without it being linked to life tap. And I was using Infernal Cry to get my cover in Ash and stuff like that, increase fire damage taken. But once I got my Cluster Jewel rolled for cover in Ash on hit, and I got my Legacy of Fury boots, so I didn't need the explosions from Infernal Cry to boost clear speed, I just immediately spec'd out of that and saved myself a passive point while also grabbing some extra life from a small node there. So probably something you'll want to do if you don't have Legacy of Fury boots yet. And I would say even if you have Legacy of Fury boots, but you don't have a cluster jewel setup for cover in Ash, fit Infernal Cry into the build so you have a source of cover in Ash, because it is a lot of damage. Past that, I think that's everything. If you guys have any questions about anything, let me know. I'll answer to the best of my abilities. If this is cool and you guys enjoy this type of content, let me know. This is not like like I said, it's not a typical build diary where it's kind of like a loose, like guided playthrough. This is more of a just like, hey, this is my character. This is what I'm currently doing. This is what the goals are, you know? It's a little bit different. It sounds samey, but it's pretty different, really. So outside of that, I may make another video about this, but this is going to be a little bit of an announcement. Feel free to let me know down in the comments below if you make it this far into the video. Oh, one last thing, I guess. This is another chest piece that I've crafted up. I just don't have the right Eldritch Implicits on it yet, but basically it's more armor and more life regen and a little bit more life. But other than that, it's almost an identical chest piece to what I'm using. So this is a minor upgrade that I have ready as soon as I can get the implicits rolled on it that I want. Sorry, anyway. So, if you make it this far in the video, let me know down in the comments. So, for uniques, I've dropped in Ashes. I've not yet dropped an Omni, but I've dropped in Ashes. I've dropped a Red Blade banner. I've dropped the Echoes of Creation, which is the unique that Ben made on Shaper. That is like the Slam helmet, basically. I have dropped a raw 6-link incandescent heart. I have also dropped corpse walkers. So I have a little list here of like build diaries that I want to do after this. I have a like potentially a consecrated path totem build with a Brutus lead sprinkler doing strength stat stacking. I have General's Cry Shield Crush build using corpse walkers. I've never dropped them before and it seems like a really fun build, so I want to play that. The Incandescent Heart, some type of CI build, maybe Phantasmal Crema or something else. You guys have ideas for that, let me know. Maybe an animate weapon build for the memes with the chains of command, using like the animate guardian setup. I've never done that. I drop the chess piece all the time, but you know, like I said, this league I'll be doing some wacky stuff to try to keep things interesting. This is on the list anyway. I have all the uniques, including Reign of Splinter. If you guys want EA totems, I'd be down to play that. I doubt you guys want that, but it's on the list. And then past that, give me ideas for Omni when I get it. But yeah, that's all the current like build diaries or builds that I like jotted down on a list. If any of that sounds interesting to you, let me know which one you want to see first. I'll probably get to most, if not all of them. But yeah, just if you made it this far in the video and you heard the list there, just let me know which one sounds the most interesting to you and what you'd like to see a build diary on. Past that, thanks a bunch you guys for watching. I'll see you in the next one. I stream daily on Twitch. As soon as you see this up on YouTube, I'll be live over there. If you want to come talk about the build or the next build diaries or blah, 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 who cares, whatever. I'll be live over there. Follow me on, you know, Twitch, Twitter. If you enjoy the video, leave me a thumbs up. It helps the algorithm, helps me, you know, spread my YouTube elsewhere on the internet, so I can grow more. And if you enjoy, you know, the content that I put out semi-daily, then leave me a sub. And I think that's everything. Appreciate you guys a bunch for watching. Interesting music to end on. I'll see you in the next one. Bye, guys. Stay safe.